a book that I would suggest that many who watch this, you should read, especially if you're a Seventh-day Adventist, and especially for those like Myles who want to engage with Adventist theology about salvation and the gospel. It's this book. It's called Salvation, Contours of Adventist Soteriology by Seventh-day Adventist scholars. It covers all the major aspects of salvation, the gospel, the nature of sin, the atonement of Christ completed at the cross, the atonement in heaven. All of those aspects are dealt with here. If anybody wants to engage Adventism on the gospel, this is the definitive book to read. And Myles, I commend him. He's one of the first critics I've seen that seriously engage with Adventist scholarship, but he needs to do it fairly and comprehensively, and that book should be on his list for reading. So in a nutshell, that's the Adventist understanding of the gospel as I see it.
You mean the book I literally just got done citing from earlier, which tells us that you guys mean the investigative judgment when you refer to the atonement? Because you guys actually affirm a completed but incomplete atonement?
Oh, man.
Sir, you're going to have to get out of bed a lot sooner than that. Because I've got your guys' number. You know it. I know it. The audience knows it. And we all know that you all know it. I know the right questions to ask, and the vague Christian word salads to try and appear a certain way won't work on me. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. You need to define terms, not point to weighty scholastic works. We can all play that game. Look, I've also got Hugh Martin's The Atonement, which is a very complex scholastic type work. I've got John Owen's The Death of Death and the Death of Christ. I've got Owen's entire commentary set, the largest work on the book of Hebrews, which arguably the largest section of New Testament literature on the atonement, thousands and thousands of pages. So what? What's your point? Is it really your contention that Contours drastically departs from traditional Adventist soteriology? No, it doesn't. When I saw you say this, sir, I'm like, wow. I'm literally just going to pull out the exact quote that mirrors exactly the Ellen White quote, which is what we looked at tonight. It doesn't drastically change. And when you guys change window dressing around like you did from the 19th to the 21st centuries, it doesn't fundamentally change anything. It changes the veneer. It gives a facelift. But it's still the same structure, which is again why this platform focuses on the foundational issues, not tertiary ones. Second, I also have your book. I cite George Knight's Search for Identity constantly. I have insight from the SDA Bible commentary. I cite from countless primary source materials, from scholastic works down to laity publications from the 19th to the 21st centuries. And it doesn't matter, because Adventists that have their livelihood staked on Adventism being correct will dismiss it as being out of context and not comprehensively well read. Sir, I appreciate the honest recognition. Many Adventists could learn from you, and hopefully this will put an end to some of the silly claims that some in your ranks make to cope, such that I know absolutely nothing about Seventh-day Adventist theology. I'm totally clueless. Literally everything I say is a lie. But the irony. You haven't addressed a single objection that this platform has raised. You haven't meaningfully engaged with anything that I've put forth. I've cited 10 times the amount of SDA scholarship than you have to support my claims in this single broadcast alone. But I'm the one that needs to be more well-read and comprehensive. Dr. Lake, no offense, sir, but I feel like I'm educating you on SDA theology. Or you're being dishonest. Like when you said everyone will struggle with sin until glorification, despite your prophetess saying the exact opposite. Yeah, go and look at sons and daughters. Yeah, see if I'm taking it out of context. January 3rd. That's the day for, because that book is a 365 book. So much so that a single blot on the character will close up heaven for you. And this is central to your guys' system. Silencing Satan is dependent upon that and God being vindicated. You call this hyper-conservatism when no, it's consistent Adventism. Consistent. See, here's the thing, Dr. Lake. I have to try to be as learned as I can across the board. Not just with my own theology, not with Seventh-day Adventism, but with Islam, Mormonism, atheism, Hinduism, etc. Because I do apologetics across the board, sir. I did street apologetics for 7 years prior to starting Answering Adventism, where I had to be prepared to defend the Christian faith at the roll of the dice, so to speak. Didn't know what I was going to get. Hare Krishnas, Hindus, Buddhists, Adventists, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons. But you guys don't have to do that. You sit in your theological ivory towers and make statements like this that, quite frankly, I don't even take seriously. I'm not the one that has a bunch of letters from the alphabet added to my name. And I'm not one to typically pat my own back on this one, but I will this time. Because if there's one thing I am, it's comprehensively read. I have a vast library of works, sir, that not only include works like the Bhagavad Gita, which I've read, the Quran, the Book of Mormon, etc., but also the Roman Catholic Catechism, the Ante-Nicene Fathers, and countless other works of other Christian traditions. So don't give me that. Don't give me that. Deal with what I'm saying. Stop hiding behind 400-page books and general theological terms and phrases and engage with my very pointed and very specific arguments. You did this the last time that I reached out to you trying to get some information. I asked him about, how did the blood of Christ get transferred to the sanctuary? Was it in his body? Is it external to him? Or how exactly does that work? What do you do? He pointed me to more weighty scholastic works. Okay, thanks for sending me some works that I wasn't aware of. No, they didn't answer it. Demonstrate that I'm aligning the sources that I'm citing and abusing. Demonstrate that I haven't accurately represented the great controversy worldview, that I've not only studied very comprehensively, but I lived it by actually having one for 2 decades. The SDA church has a false gospel because the SDA church has the great controversy worldview, which is an extra-biblical, antichrist paradigm that presents a different Jesus who isn't real and can't save anyone, which necessarily results in a false gospel. Because the true gospel, as we saw in Galatians 1:12, was given by the real Christ to the apostles and handed down to us today. It's not a present truth only for this time gospel that only you guys have. Don't try and tell me that I'm not read comprehensively, that I'm taking stuff out of context, etc., when I've read probably tenfold SDA literature that the average Seventh-day Adventist has.